Greetings, Father Joe here, your friendly neighborhood pastor coming to you from St. Patrick's Church in lovely Highland Mills, New York. Today is Thursday of the first week in Ordinary Time, and we are reading through the first book of Samuel. Things to remember as we read through this reading. The Israelites are defending themselves against the Philistines. They go into battle and they lose 4,000 men. They say, wow, this is really bad. We should send back and get the Ark of the Covenant, because usually that not only comes into battle with us, that leads us into battle, and then we'll be able to defeat the enemy. Well, the next battle, they don't just lose 4,000 men, they lose 30,000 men. So what's going on here? You might say, well, clearly this means that the Ark of the Covenant isn't very good, or it doesn't do what they think it does. Well, it's not entirely true. What's going on here is normally God commands the Israelites to go into battle. And when God commands them to go into battle, he leads them into battle. The priests carry the Ark of the Covenant with the army, and that's what leads them into battle. In today's reading, the Israelites have gone into battle, and God hasn't commanded them to do that. And so after they are fighting the battle, they say, boy, this would be a good time for us to ask for God's help. Doesn't that sound familiar? We say, gee, I want to do whatever it is, buy a new house. I want to get a new job. And we start in the process, and then we say, oh, maybe I should ask God for the grace to do this. Now, here's the difficulty. God's going to answer your prayers, but maybe not the way you think. The people go and get the Ark of the Covenant, and they bring it. Hophni and Phinehas, they come with the Ark. They are the sons of Eli. Not only do they lose 30,000 men, they lose the Ark of the Covenant, and Hophni and Phinehas are killed. This is generally a sign of God's displeasure. How often do we get into something and then we ask God to help us get what we want? Well, as you can see with the Israelites, when we do that, not only do we lose, but we lose even worse. So how often, have I done this in my life? And I'm not going to give you a list, but I have. And yeah, it doesn't work out well. But think about this also in a larger scale. The last presidential election, we had Catholics speaking at both the Republican and the Democratic conventions, both giving an implicit blessing on the party or the party platform. And that's always going to be a problem. We should not be giving a blessing to a platform that is not ours. We can give a blessing to certain parts of the platform, but not the platform. When we do that, we run the risk of being like Israel when it was in the battle and then said, oh yeah, by the way, we should bring God in. We need to pray first and ask God to show us the way. I was speaking, I think I was in an airport, and I was speaking to a pastor. I think he was Protestant. I don't think he was Catholic. But he said something about, we're going to build this new, center, youth center for our church, and it's going to cost just buckets of money. And I know that we'll be successful because, God makes all things work together for the good of those who love him, which is a paraphrase of my favorite passage from the Bible. But he left out the last part. It's so important. It's from St. Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 28. Here is what the verse says. God makes all things work together for the good of those who love him, and, this is the part he left out, and are called according to his purpose. So, if God wants me to go north and I decide to go south, God may block my trip south, and it may be a complete and utter failure. God will use that failure to turn me around and go north. He's not going to continue to bless my going south because that's contrary to his will. It's contrary to what's good for me. God's will is his love, and his love wants me to be with him in heaven. So there are times when we say, I'm going to ask God for his blessing on this. I'm going to get I'm going to get a little statue of Saint Christopher and put it in my car. Well, if I drive like an idiot, I'm probably going to get into an accident. It's got nothing to do with that statue on my car. However, if I get a statue of Saint Christopher on my dashboard and it reminds me to drive in a safe way, well, then I'm cooperating with God's grace. So, again, we don't want to be like Israel, who decides that they're going to go into a battle and then, includes God as an afterthought. God bless you.